This is the tutorial for Problem Solving Connections Chapter 2, Part 2. So this one looks at the different shops. The first one we looked at the 3 shops and we looked at their profit compared to their monthly intake. And here we're looking at the actual shops and their charges. And so it looks like we're going to look for patterns to complete the table. And so as we do this, we've got X values up top, it says, which are the number of hours, and cost of rental down on the y-axis. And so what we want to do is fill in 4 and 6. For 4 hours, how much would it charge? And for 6 hours, how much would it charge? Well, when we look at these numbers, if you notice, all of the hours are going up by 1, and the cost of rentals are also going up as well. So I see that the hours go up as cost of rentals go up, and that kind of makes sense. As you rent something for a longer period of time, it's going to be more expensive. So the way we figure this out is we check for a common difference first. And so we'll look to see if there's a common difference between the X and the Y value. And so if I look at that, 15 minus 2, I get 13, where if I take a look at the next one, I see 22.5. If I take away 3, that leaves me with 19.5. So definitely no common difference there. So then we'll move on to the next type of common component of these problems, and that is a common ratio. And so the common ratio, I'm looking at the y over x, and so I'm looking at the y value over the x value to see what is, if there's anything that's the same about those. And when I look at that right away, 15 over 2, I know half of 15 makes 7.5. Well, let's see if the next one does as well. See, 3 times 7 makes 21, so that's pretty close to 22.5. So let's check that out. So we'll do 22.5 over 3. So what I'm really doing is 3 into 22.5. Well, 3 goes into 21, or 22, we said 7 times, which leaves us with 1 left over. And we bring up the decimal point, and we've got 15 there. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. So yes, that does make that work. So it looks as though all I have to do is count up another 7.5. So because I'm just going up 1 unit, I could just do 22.5 plus another 7.5, and that's going to give me the value for 4. So when I add those two together, the 0.5s make a whole, and 22 and 7 make 29, so this would be $30 for 4 hours. And then let's see if it works. See, if I add 7.5, let's see if 30 plus 7.5 will be 37.5. Yes, it does. So it looks as though this pattern is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another 7.5 to 37.5. So as I do that, the 5/10ths make a whole. That makes 1. And then I have to add 7 and 7 make 14. Carry that 1, and then I have 3 and 1 make 4. So 44 and 1 give me 45. So for 6 hours, it looks like it's going to be $45. So what they ask next is, they ask, what is the cost for renting it for 1 hour? Well, all it is just dividing. We're finding a unit rate here. A unit rate is how much it costs for 1 unit of time. And so all I really need to do is do exactly as I did over here. I need to divide. If it's 2 hours, or $15 for 2 hours, if I divide 2 into 15, this is going to give me the unit rate. And it's going to give me exactly the number I've been using before. See, 2 goes into 15 7 times. 1 left over, I add the decimal point and the 0. And then 2 goes into 10 5 times. So there it is, $7.50 for 1 hour of rental time. Would be my answer there. So the next one says, write an equation that gives y, the cost of y, of renting for x hours. Well, that would just be an equation where we have a total equals, and then usually it's a constant, but there's no constant. There's nothing being added to it. It's just a variable amount. And the variable amount is what changes the x component every time, is multiplying by 7.5. So it's y equals 7.5 times x. And that gives us our equation to match this. And so you can see how if you plug in 1 for 7.5, you get 7.5. If you plug in 2 for x, then you multiply 2 times 7.5 gives us 15. And that would be the equation. So the next part says, is the ordered pair, 10, 75, a solution of the equation? Well, x is the 10 and y is the 75. So we're going to take those numbers and substitute them in. So we have 75 equals 10 times by that 7.5. And when I multiply 10 times 7.5, I do get 75. So yes, it's going to end up working. So we need to just specify that. So what we'd say is yes, 10 comma 75 is a solution of the equation. And then we'll write out what that equation is. Y equals 7.5x. And so it is an equation because they're asking why or why not. So we have to explain what we did. So because when 10 is input into x, and 75 is input or substituted into y, it yields an equality. And that's basically what we did over here in math terms. And so I took the 75, I put that in for y, put the 10 in for x, I multiplied, and I got an equality, two things that were equal. Well, let's take a look at the next section. And it's this one over here where it says E, what does the ordered pair 1075 represent in this equation? And so what we have to do is specify what the 10 is. So 10 is the number of hours, the equipment, we'll say, or the kayak, I guess is what this is. The kayak was rented for. And then 75 is the cost of renting the kayak for 10 hours. So the next part says write the values from the above table as ordered pairs. So going back to this table up here, we're going to take these units and then write them as ordered pairs, noting that the x is the top number and the y is the bottom number. So I'll just rewrite those. And so that's what it asks us to do. So we write down 2 comma 15, and then I've got 3 comma 22 and a half, then 4 comma 30, 5 comma 37 and a half, and the last one was 6 comma 45. So then from there they ask us, well, let's plot these points on this coordinate plane here and then explain what the graph looks like or describe the graph. So let's go 2 and then up 15. Notice that these units are going up by 10. So this is 10, 20, but there's 5 in between. So it's, for instance, here would be 15 in between, and here would be 5, this would be 25, and 35, and 45, and so on. So 215 would be right here. And then it says 322.5. So 3 is right in between 2 and 4. And then 22.5 is right in between 25 and 20. So it would be right about there. 430, so that would go here. And then 537 and a half. So 37 is above 35 but below 40. It's right in the center there. And then 645. So we're up right there. And so now we go ahead and connect those points with a line and talk about what that is. And so as I go ahead and draw that line, I see that it's definitely an increasing line as the x values are getting bigger. These are the number of hours. The y values are also getting bigger. And that's something we can specify. So we'll say the graph is an increasing. So it's increasing because the x values are getting bigger and the y values are getting bigger. And we'll specify that in just a moment. So it's an increasing line. So as the x values, which are hours, increase, the y values, which are the rental costs, so the rental cost, increase too. So that's part 2. Check out part 3 for that tutorial.